episode of Winning the Moment, we have Mitch Rose, and I knew his story was going to be good. Turns out it's better than I thought. He has an amazing story. He is a young entrepreneur who has scaled his business from 100,000 all the way up to 500,000, and he's got some incredible stories of real estate investment. And if you're a young entrepreneur and you want to build a life that you want, you're going to want to listen to this episode because Mitch's story is truly incredible. All right, welcome back to another episode of Winning the Moment. I've got Mitch Rose with me today, and I'm super excited for this one because I think you got a cool story to share. And you just got back from Greece, right?
Yeah, one week ago.
What was amazing is that video on your Instagram. I thought that was a lake that you were jumping in, and the water was like, was it a lake?
No, it was ocean.
Oh, wow. That was
seriously, the first thing I
incredible.
said was like, this looks like Tahoe.
That's what
it
I was
looked like
like.
Lake Tahoe, but it was in the ocean.
That's why I asked, because it looked like you were in a lake, but the water was like the most beautiful blue I'd ever seen.
Dude, yeah. We took this boat tour. It was like the last day before we flew home.
Yeah.
So we wake up, had all our bags packed, ready to go. And we had already committed to this boat tour, and it was like kind of cloudy and looked like not good weather.
Maybe not going to
and
be
we
the
were
best.
So it's literally like an hour boat drive to this remote little spot you can only get to by boat. And we ended up getting there, and dude, just the sun popped out.
Perfect.
The water was like, it was, I've been to Jamaica too, and that water was clear, but this was like insane, dude. And obviously just being in Greece and that side of the planet was just like,
Had you been there before?
No, never been to Europe. And
Where all did you go in Europe?
layover in Paris, but just Athens and Greece.
Isn't it interesting as humans that we have an ability to diminish what we say with our words?
Yeah.
So you just said just. As if like Paris, Athens, and Greece is like not awesome.
Well, I had to lay over just in Paris, but like I couldn't leave the airport.
Oh, okay.
I guess. But yeah, Sam, my girlfriend, she was sick the whole plane ride there, so I was just trying to keep her, sane and okay. Because
how long were you there?
It was about 10 days, 11 days.
That's awesome. I've actually never been to Europe.
Dude, it was not as bad as I thought. Everyone was like just setting all these expectations for me, and I totally believed them. And dude, just like going to anywhere else, like Mexico, just go through the border thing and give them your passport. And everyone's obviously speaking a bunch of different languages from all over in Europe, but a lot of people all speak English, so it wasn't even bad, dude. It was like,
it's interesting.
Smooth.
Trips and vacations. I used to always say, or I do say, expectations are the root of disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have kids, right? So when I went on vacations, it's like, okay, we're going to go do this thing. It's going to be great. The kids are going to love it. Like everything's going to be perfect. And then you get there and kids are kids and life is life. And you're like, oh, I'm just frustrated, right? So it's like, why am I going on vacation and being angry? Like what is this dynamic? And then I realized it's the expectations, right? And so many people actually, their favorite part of a vacation is leading up to it.
Yeah.
Because the excitement and the anticipation and the planning. And then it's like you spend so much time almost daydreaming about it that then you forget to actually experience the thing you're excited about, right? Because you build up all these expectations or timelines or things you have to accomplish, and then you're there and it's almost like you're working. To deliver on these expectations as opposed to just like taking it in. Really what you just shared, you went on that boat experience, like, I don't know, and then ended up being epic.
Yeah. You always got to and we had already paid like the deposit. So we were all like, everyone was kind of like, maybe we should just chill. Cause we had a really sick house there. It was like,
did you go with a big group or?
Yeah, there was like, so our friends got married there. That's why.
Oh, that's cool.
But we had like 22 of us staying in this big Airbnb, 2 pools.
Wow.
But yeah, it was immaculate. So we were thinking about just chilling at the house, but we already paid, and we were like, let's just go. But anyways, went straight from the boat to the airport.
It's awesome when you can get a day of vacation in on the travel day because it's like a bonus day,
Yeah.
So the way that I know Mitch, when we were getting ready, we were doing my in-laws, rebranding for Foz Glass, and we were getting ready to, so they had just celebrated 30 years. We were building a new website for them, did a full rebranding, and we're getting ready to shoot like their video talking about their history and where they were headed, and then get a bunch of content. And Kyle, who works for Vibrant as our social media contact, was like, dude, we got to hire my buddy Mitch, And he was like, Mitch in the van. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like he lived in a van or something. You lived in a van, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, lived in a van. I was like, okay, I don't know. He's like, trust me, dude, this guy's amazing. And it was in all the times that we've hired professional content, it was by far the best. And we had like started their website, right? And just using like stock images like so many people do, or like trying to just pull some stuff on the internet that already exists. And the website just wasn't popping. It wasn't coming to life. It was like, ooh, this isn't very good. The second we put in your content, it just changed everything. It made it from like oh, this is a good website to like, whoa, this is an incredible website, so that's kind of how we got started. But I'd love to hear your backstory. How did you get to where you are today? What's the story living in the van? Like, let's just dive into that.
Yeah. So yeah, I came to Utah from Riverside, California, moved here my senior year in high school so I can try to get in-state tuition for Dixie State.
Okay.
And Utah Tech now. But yeah, I came here, basically graduated high school, got into college, did 2 years working actually at Black Bear Diner. That was my first job ever.
Nice.
Tried to get hired at a Domino's in Riverside and didn't get the job. So I had these work shoes I bought. They're like non-slip, and my dad kept joking. He's like, we should sell them and say work shoes never been worked in or something. But anyways, I ended up using them at Black Bear and was a busboy for a couple months, and then got to a server and was just doing that for about two and a half years. And then was going to college and wanted to be maybe like a physical therapist or physical therapist assistant.
Okay.
But just thinking about the numbers, like it was like median salary in Utah for a PT was like 70 or 80K.
That's even higher than I would have thought.
Yeah. PTA was 50 and you only needed 2 years. And
okay.
So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do that. 50K, that's fine.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, the things you tell yourself, and you only know what you know. Like,
right.
If you ever told me that now, obviously I'd say no way. But
I remember being a kid, and one of my friends, his dad, I remember like he told me at one time he made 50 grand, and he had like that Mitsubishi Eclipse convertible. This was like way back in the day. And I remember thinking like, when I grow up, I'm going to make 50 grand a year.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If you're surrounded by those people, you start to get conditioned and believe in that life.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever knew. And I was thinking about this on in the car yesterday actually, just like how my mom or parents, like not my dad, but my mom would like just always talk about car payments and, oh, we got a, car insurance payment. And like, those are the conversations that people have at a certain level of income where it's like, that's not even a thing anymore. I don't even have to worry about my car payment or insurance or whatever. Right. Like, you just do it and let it auto pay and whatever. But it's just funny that that's something that people think about in their like budget.
Well, it's because for so many people that is a real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in their day to day, it's like, oh, I got this payment. Like I'm gonna have to pay it 5 days late. Like that'll give me enough grace period, And what's unfortunate about that is so much of it starts in the mind. To your point,
exactly.
Like whatever you believe you can achieve, and as corny as that may sound, it's real.
Yep.
Like most of our limitations are between our ears.
Yep. And that's exactly why. Like there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle, but again, for me, it wasn't something that I
and what's
wanted.
Interesting is the people in that lifestyle just don't know they could have a different one.
It's perspective.
Yeah.
But anyways, where did I leave off on that?
Pete, you're looking at like becoming a therapist, and you're gonna make like 50 grand a year, and you're like, that'd be
doing school. And at that time I had also just moved in. When I moved to Utah, I moved into the Falls at Mesa Point apartments around here. And it was basically about $1,000 a month. And I was like, why am I paying some millionaire to be a millionaire? Like I had never knew about real estate investing or even the concept of it, but I was like, dude, that's $1,000 I could be putting towards me.
Right.
And so I was on YouTube, and I don't even know, it just kind of popped up like the van life thing. And I saw this one video, and it like totally changed my perspective on like living. I was like, dude, you don't need all this stuff to like live and be grateful and be happy. So my roots are definitely in a hippie spot, but I grind like a hustler. But
you're like a capitalist in your efforts.
I am.
And you're a hippie in your beliefs.
Yes, exactly. Which it's kind of contradicting, but it will.
I think there's a lot of people in that space now who are like the free thinkers, totally. But it's like, okay, I've got these hippie beliefs, but I also want to have the lifestyle that I want. Mm-hmm. I want to go to Greece for 10 days.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the van thing, I first bought like a little brown Astro van, converted that, lived in and out of it for
Converted
about
it yourself?
8 months. Yeah.
That's cool.
I had solar get hooked up from some guy. And then after that,
Where'd you park the van?
I would park above like Sand Hollow when you could park up there. They just kind of plowed that new road back there.
Okay, so you weren't
they
paying
blocked
to
it
live
off.
anywhere. You weren't
No.
like at a park, or you were just like wherever you went.
No, yeah. I would like to go up to Sand Hollow just because it was a longer drive out there. But
Yeah.
it was just more isolation and
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about people messing with me at night. Because I'd slept like in parking lots around here before.
Like in a
because
because you can sleep at a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, but you start hearing some weird stuff at Walmart's at night, dude. But then after that van, I basically sold it and was on KSL and saw this ambulance for sale. And I was like, dude, this is Hurricane Valley, and my brother's a firefighter out there. And so I was like, dude, is your chief selling this? He's like, yeah. I said, tell him I'm coming tomorrow. And it was $2,800. Came up with a check, gave it to him, and sold right away. And then, yeah, that's how the ambulance started. So that I had somebody paint the side and did a whole mural and
That's
wrote
awesome.
Man Indie Van on the thing. And that was kind of like the really stuck out like a sore thumb kind of thing that a lot of people, I guess, remember me from.
Right.
Like they're like, you're the ambulance guy. You're the ambulance guy. So that stuck. And that was when I realized the power of having like a personal brand. I really branded myself around that.
Yeah.
Now I just have it because I'm not changing my name again on Instagram, but I'm going to be
But now you've got that
again.
story, which is cool,
yeah.
you know?
And it really did like help. I didn't have to do that, but for one, I was like, I'm done investing in other people. I'm going to invest in myself. So I'm going to get my money back and just invest it in myself, because my goal was to invest in real estate. But income at the time just didn't permit for financing and stuff.
Well, and you just said you bought the van for $2,800, right?
Yeah.
So it was like 3 months of rent would have been at Mesa Falls, right? And then that's done.
Yeah.
You know, and people's biggest expense in life generally is their rent or their mortgage. So you found a way to circumvent that. So to the audience who's listening, imagine taking whatever your living expense is, eliminating that, and then putting that towards growth and development.
Yeah.
Like you struggle for 2 years, that's a huge compound, right?
Yeah.
Like if we just did
Big
the math
time.
really quick and say that that's $24,000 over 2 years, you spent 3 on the vehicle. There's some other expenses too, so let's just round it up and say it was 10. That still leaves you $14,000 of extra income to invest in yourself over a 2-year period.
Yep. And it helps. And it'll, again, like we had talked about before, just compound. Like you have to think about it like that. And the money I was able to save in that time in college, I think it was the first year I started. While I was living in the van, I wanted a house, couldn't buy it, but my grandpa showed me 5 acres up in New Harmony, by Cedar City.
Yeah.
And he was like, Mitch, if you buy this lot, you're never going to regret it. And he's like, just do it. And that was all I could afford at the time. So I had to have my dad co-sign for me, put about close to 20 grand down on it.
Wow.
It was 52,000. And just paid it off like a couple months ago.
Congratulations.
But,
that's amazing. The most important thing you can do is buy dirt. That's never going to be a bad investment.
And that was the thing. I was like, 5 acres? When am I ever going to get this opportunity to have this much land? So I was like, I got to do this. It was a no-brainer. So bought that. Now they're, worth 180 to 200 or more maybe.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You know?
And that was in 2018.
And so how old were you when you bought the land?
19.
And
18,
that's incredible.
Actually.
And that's what I love about your story for the people who are listening. It's like, it's not like you had this opportunity or these parents or like that you just like had, you could make whatever risk you wanted. Like you were strategic and thought outside the box and said, what can I do? And from that, from being strategic and willing to take a risk and live in a van, then it created an opportunity to have the funds. Because if you were living in Mesa Falls that whole time, that lot's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you wouldn't have had that 20 grand.
And now that compound, I mean,
right
obviously
now
I could sell it, go put it in something
that
else.
That 20 grand really turned into 200,000.
Yeah.
Right. So you 10x your money in the matter of how many years is that?
5.
10x your money in 5 years. You know what I mean? So now let's say you have that 200 grand and you put that into something else that 10x's in another 5 years. Now you got $2 million.
Yep.
Right. It's not that hard.
It's not.
But you've got to be willing to take risks and take sacrifices.
Yep.
Because if you live that comfortable life in Mesa Falls and you buy that nice furniture set and then you buy that nice bedroom set and you get stuck in that race, then that you're just going to be in there for a long time.
Exactly.
Right. And so I think for the listeners who are listening to this episode, you've got some awesome, I mean, I think it's incredible, man. It's an inspiration.
Appreciate it. And like that mindset, like I've always had like a desire to better myself for the future, or just sacrifice for the future. But it's like, I tell this story and it still kind of shocks me, but like during my birthday is December 7th, and having my birthday and Christmas so close together when I was a kid, like literally from 6 years old probably to 15 or whatever, I would say, everyone would go, "What's Mitch want for Christmas?" And I said, "Money. I want money for Christmas and my birthday." And in total, I remember I'd get around like $1,100-$1,200 from all my family members between.
Damn, you're
birthday.
making it crushing.
I said, "Nope, money only." And I would take 100 for myself and tell my dad, because he told me he had some bank account for me, which was like a little, like a Roth, not a Roth,
maybe a 529. That's like the
just
account
basically
for
stocks.
Yeah,
he invested them in stocks. So over those years, I'd give him 1,100, take 100 for myself for toys, $1,100 for a freaking kid, dude.
Yeah,
that's I
that's
knew
a lot of
that.
money.
I was like, if I park this here, it's gonna be better. Like, I know.
How do you think you knew that?
I don't know. Just like, I didn't need it. Like, I didn't need $1,100. I'm not gonna like buy that many toys.
It's
or
really
things.
interesting. I've never thought about this, but until like right now, you're making me think about it. Is that when I was younger, like a young adult, right? Like what I wanted, and what's funny is you do mold the environment that you're around. So like my parents would have like fluctuations of success, right? And it's like when things were going good, like they would do all that shit. The TV, like I remember getting the big screen TV and being like, like this is, we did it. And so I wanted that. And so like I wanted to be successful, not really like thinking about my future, is more about like thinking about like right now. Like I want to make this money so I can have the big screen, so I can have the nice condo, so I can have the furniture, so I can have the car. Like I wanted all those things right then. And had I had the perspective that you did and taken that success I had at a young age and been like, I want this forward thinking thing, it would have been so much better. But I was really conditioned to believe like this money is so I can buy stuff now.
Yeah, I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Gratification.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't know where I got the concept of long term, but it's always been clearly deep in my thing. Like my whole reasoning and everything for investing is just to get back to that comfort of like protecting myself and my assets, and just essentially having the passive income. That's everybody's goal nowadays, but I'm doing it. I started for a long time ago, but I knew that if I just make a small sacrifice and park my money somewhere where it's gonna not get inflation to get a hold of it, then it'll be more beneficial for me. So,
and there's nothing better than land, especially just raw land. I mean, that's just like, you don't have to do anything. Your property taxes are low. You don't have any maintenance. That thing's just sitting there.
Just taxes at this point,
growing.
which are cheap. Like,
right.
$1,400 a year. It's super cheap, but yeah, so that's kind of where that first initial investment started. I found another, like, it was like 10 grand up in Bryan Head, a little half acre up on Cocopelli Drive. Like, first.
Do you have water up there?
No. So it's all off grid. So that was a different investment.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to appreciate.
There's not a lot of
get
land in
developed.
Bryan Head with water.
Yeah. But again, I was like, one day this is going to be like a Big Bear,
Oh, dude,
people
Bryan
are
Head,
going to evolve, and
the
it will
future
evolve.
of Bryan Head is huge.
Exactly.
Like,
that's why I was like, I got a park.
I know, I'm
here.
trying. And land's pretty affordable. Like that's one of my goals right now, is to get a piece in Bryan Head, because I don't even care. I don't need, like, I'm happy to just put up a little structure, solar, truck and water myself, get a big propane tank. Like,
that's what they do. Diesel generators for the winter. And
Bryan Head really is gonna blow up.
Yeah. And that was, again, I was like, 10 grand. But I ended up splitting it with my dad and my brother. So we basically are little third partners in there. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, I bought that one. And in that time, I was basically transitioning, just graduated college, figured out,
Oh, you did graduate college.
Associates of Science is what I got. But yeah, I got that. So I only did 2 years. And then at the end of my ropes with Black Bear, they kind of messed with my schedule. And I was like, you know what, man, I need to, like, I don't know how to do it, or wouldn't know how. I told myself you couldn't make $1 with a camera. I truly believed that, but I knew I loved it because I'd go and.
So at the time, you're saying you didn't think you could be successful being a photographer.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way. Like, how do people do this? I had nobody all I would see was sick videos on Instagram. And I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be a dope videographer.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, I want to not work at this job, and I want to try to do this as like a living. And basically shot a house for a real estate agent for free. And next day got some call from the agent saying, call this guy, and opportunities led to the next. Put my 2 weeks in at Black Bear, and then it was off.
How
from
good
there.
did that feel?
It was insane. It was, I think in January of 2019, I got one gig while I was still working at Black Bear to film for a church with a camcorder one Sunday every month, $1,000. And I'd literally film with some crappy mic, the guy's talking, and throw it up on YouTube for him. And he didn't, I still work with him today on other church projects, but.
And okay, so at that time, so you did one Sunday a month?
One Sunday a week.
Okay,
so
and you made
four.
$1,000.
Yeah.
So $250 every Sunday.
Yeah.
So then what were you making at Black Bear at the time in a month?
Maybe about in between 3 and 4 a month.
3,000 to 4,000?
Yeah.
Working at Black Bear?
Oh yeah.
Because your tips or what?
Well, yeah, I would do as longest shifts as I could.
Dang.
And just bust my butt to get.
Hustler for real.
Yeah, and like during that time,
Man, Black Bear needs to like put this out. Like,
yeah.
you can.
I was thinking about.
You can make some cash there.
I was at some place recently, and like Sakura. I was like, I should have served at Sakura, man. I just tipped this guy $70. Like, geez.
Oh, for real? That's funny. You totally ruined my point because I was going to say you made more money working one Sunday a month, but
Well, no, I know, not yet. But once I
that's amazing.
Yeah, once I basically cut ties, I was like, you know what? I was essentially going to work for some company.
So then that was scary probably because you were walking
yeah.
away from like a significant income for like, especially at that time in your life.
Yep. And the opportunity I got that allowed me to quit my job was like, I was going to be some company up north's photographer down here. And they were going to pay me like $30-$40 a house, which I was probably going to take a big pay cut. But yeah, so I had
$30 to $40 a house, like an hour or total?
No, total.
And what do you charge a client to do a house now?
My minimum 15 photos, like 150.
Wow.
But 225 goes up. But yeah, I was going to work for them. And then long story short, got an opportunity to buy one of those Matterport cameras. And the guy was like, my son did it. He'll teach you everything you need to know. Buy this iPad and this Matterport for $2,800.
What's a Matterport?
It's a 3D virtual scanner that I can essentially map out the house and have houses of the home and stuff like that. Create floor plans. And so I took that. Didn't really know how to take real estate photos yet, or even use my camera that well.
And are you all self-taught? Like, did you just pick up a camera, start shooting, and figure it out?
It was the Matterport first. Like, I didn't even know how to take pictures.
Wow.
Like, good. Or know anything about it.
That's amazing.
And so I'd start with the Matterport. Dave Arake. Do you know Dave? He's a real estate agent here in St. George. But he was my first client, $100 for the Matterport. And I was scared shitless, dude. I was like, don't fuck this up. Like this, I was so scared. But after that, I remember.
Hold on 1 second. Let's pause because talking about fear is really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because so obviously we're on a podcast, right? And I just finally actually put the first episode out there this last week, and I was talking to Megan, my wife, and I was like, I had waited. I already had 7 episodes, and I finally did it, and I was like, why did I wait so long? And I was scared. And then I was like, that's an interesting response. What was I afraid of? Because worst thing, I just like can't figure it out. Like, I don't know what the fear was, but I did have fear. Like, that's why I kept putting it off. And so I finally, now it's actually live. You can find it wherever podcasts are. But I did have this fear that stopped me. And so then you just now said you were scared to do it. And isn't that an interesting perspective to say, what are we really afraid of?
Yeah.
Because what's the worst thing that happens? You can't do it and you give the guy your $100 back.
Yeah, or go fix it.
Yeah. Like
that's the cool thing.
Fear
about
is
it.
real.
Yeah, it is.
And what's interesting is it's present in the things that we want. So I obviously want to become a speaker and share this message of winning the moment. And I got asked by Utah Tech University to do a talk last week to all their staff and faculty. And when I got asked, my initial reaction was like, no, because I was afraid, and so it's like, you've got to, like, the only way to get through that fear is to work through it. I
always say lean into it.
Absolutely.
Because if you like
what you want's on the other side of fear.
Yeah, standing let it lean like you're gonna fall over.
Yeah,
and you're gonna put your foot down and hold yourself up.
Yeah,
that's literally the best
good
example to say is if you just lean into it, you're gonna fall, but you're gonna put your foot down and hold yourself up. Like
I love that.
That's the best way. If anything's scary, but some like do your due diligence, whatever you're doing, but really evaluate what is the worst that can happen, you know?
Yeah, like it was so funny. It's like, what was I afraid of? It's not like a monster was going to come get me when I started the podcast,
die?
you know? Like there was literally nothing except for frustration, I guess, that could have caused that fear, but it was real. I mean, I had it. I waited a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And then I did it and I felt so good. And it's like, what was I waiting for?
Yeah, that was exactly me with the black bear, dude. I knew that's all I knew. I never had a job, so I was like most people bounce between jobs like it's nothing. But that was
Yeah,
like
I
all
actually thought that when you said you were there
know.
for as long as you were at that age, like that's significant.
Yeah, it was like really hard, bro. Like I was shivering almost walking in to put in my 2 weeks. Like that's how I get.
Well, and when you were there for that long, like the wherever you work and spend your time, like that's where you spend most of your time, especially if you're working long shifts.
Identity
you know
almost,
what I mean?
yeah.
And that like becomes like your family outside of the home. So it's like leaving any kind of grouping or tribe is always a hard thing to do.
Totally.
Okay, so this guy gives you $100. You've got this crazy camera. You go do it, and then what happens?
Then basically quit Black Bear, was all on my own, and I think that was July of 2019. And July, I think my first month I did like 1,500, and then the next month I did 2,200. Then the next month I did 2,900, and then kind of kept going. And then I think December of that year I had got some more clients, and I was at about, I think I hit like 4,000 or something like that, 30-something hundred. But I was like screaming busy, like couldn't keep up, stressed out, and I was like just complaining and bitching about it to everybody, and oh, poor me. And my dad finally snapped at me one day and he's like, Mitch, you need to just raise your fucking prices. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
December, I told all my clients prices are going. I think I was like 50 an hour, went to 100, and some people dropped off, some stayed on. And then 2020 was my first official year, and that first month I did like 7,800.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to think, when
it
did we start working together? What year was that?
was probably 2021, I think.
And it may have been 2020.
Really?
No, because it was probably 2021. You're right.
Yeah.
I bet that's right.
But yeah, that was my first full year. And I think in total in Black Bear, like the years I'd have was about 30 to 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
And by the end of that year, I hit right over 6 figures, and I was just like, holy shit. Like that was my life goal, was 6 figures.
Yeah,
and
right.
I did
Yeah,
it.
I
My
had that
first
goal.
real year doing business on my own with no experience, no one to tell me what to do or how to do it.
And that puts you in the 1%. You making 6 figures, you're in the 1% globally, you know?
Yeah. And I really just pioneered my way and just asked like what people needed and delivered. Like same thing with you guys. Like you would prefer to have an all-in-one stop shop that could take photos, that could take video, that can make high quality video, that could, do all the things that I do. Like I try to be just an all-around asset, not a bill. Like and that's why I go business to business, because any consumer is not going to see a return on my content other than just like sentimental value. But any business that I can have them spend money on me for, more than likely, I mean, for sure.
Yeah,
real
I feel
estate,
like we've gotten you so many referrals, and like you shot so much stuff from the start of our relationship. And what's interesting, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. So obviously, if you haven't listened to me before, I own a company called Vibrant Management, and so we represent boutique hospitality properties. And what's so interesting is so many of them never invest in professional photography, right? They're just like, oh, I've got this sick picture on my iPhone. And it's like, can you make this the hero image on the website? It's like, well, one, it's portrait. So it's like, no. And two, like that's not going to work, you know? And so especially when I started in tourism, as I started doing sales for ZionNationalPark.com. So I'd go to all of these tourism businesses, restaurants, outfitters, hotels, and we were building like microsites for them on this website, ZionNationalPark.com. So we needed content, we needed imagery. Bro, no one had it. It's like, can you share your pictures with me? They're like, oh, well, our front desk girl took a couple pictures on her iPhone.
It's that bad in
you know
Utah.
what I mean? And it's like,
so behind.
What are you doing? And we're redoing a website for a restaurant right now, and they got nothing. And it's like, and then you're like, okay, here's what we need. You guys need to get a professional photographer. We need boom, 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 boom. And then you tell them what it is, like, I don't know. And it's like, this is literally the most important piece that you have.
Yep.
Like in order to be compelling, you have to tell a story, right? And you've got to have this digital component that exists and highlights your property, because this is what's going to make them want to stay there.
Yeah.
And the difference between someone who doesn't know how to do photography and someone like yourself is not even close, and it's like, you've got to be willing to make that investment because your digital story is how people are going to find you. And in fact, we were sharing a story before we started filming about this new marketing company that we're starting. And so as we're going through and we're making our core values and we're setting up our demographics, one of my prerequisites to work with someone was they have to have a strong digital presence, either already or that they will invest and allow us to get them to have a strong digital presence, because I won't even work with them otherwise because it won't be successful.
It's that important.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
really
if
is.
you don't have strong quality content, then there's no point in even spending money on marketing because you're taking all these eyeballs and putting them on something that isn't even a good reflection of what they're actually getting.
Yeah.
We've got this one property, I won't say its name, but this gentleman doesn't want to invest in a new website. And we're like, well, why is that? He's like, well, I want to under promise and over deliver. And it's like, bro, like, like I can understand where you're coming from, but at the same point, the only way that people are going to book with you is if it looks compelling.
People are looking for value.
Yet no one wants to look at it and be like, I hope it's better.
Yeah.
You know?
I know, really. If they see shit, they're going to expect shit.
Yeah.
And that's a bad way to think
It's
about
so
it.
incredibly important. And like, so you do a bunch of real estate photography too for homes and stuff, right? And it's like, that is what sells it.
It is. That with the combination of the right price, like we could I've couple houses recently, we put homes under contract within hours, couple days, even in this market. That's everyone's like bitching and complaining. It's like, dude, just get the right price with the right photos. You'll nail it right on the head.
And you're going to get more, like, especially in real estate, right? Like if you spend $1,000 to have you come shoot the house, 1,000%. You're going to make that 1,000 because you're talking about such a huge price, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if with your imagery, you're going to be able to sell that house for 5,000 to 10,000 more every day of the week. And like talking about my in-laws website, Foz Glass, go check it out, fozglass.com. Your content completely changed the site, right?
Yeah,
like
with you guys though, it's a teamwork.
No, it is. You got to
it
have
too.
this platform, but because we already built it prior to your shoot, like, so I saw the end product without that content.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's way better than what they had and it'll be okay. But once we put your stuff in it, dude, it was like, wow. Like it just came to life.
And it feels real too, because like there's a lot of images or websites that have those stock images and it just feels very...
You can tell when it's not real.
Artificial. And it feels
it's not a reflection of the experience.
Yeah, you wanna build that trust right away. And if everything looks too cookie cutter, there's going to be some hesitancy without even knowing why, like as a viewer. But if you can really like have that personalized video, show real people and tell your story, that's so important. Like tell people who you are, what you do, how you help people, and why you're different.
Yeah, right? If you're listening, go to fozglass.com, go watch their story, because we did like a 5-minute history story, and then go to the Work For Us page, because that's where it really came to life, because there's an image, and what you did so good is you've got those candid shots. So it's like a picture of all the guys in the yard, they're smiling, they're laughing, and you can tell it's real because it was real.
Yeah.
You weren't like, okay, and laugh, snap, right? You just caught them having a conversation.
Yeah.
And so like if you look at that page, I think that's really the story I'm talking about. And then we did those testimonials of the employees where they talked about why they loved working there. And that is just a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly was like, and that was our first experience working together. And from that point on, it was like,
that's what I try to sell people, because I know the value, but you came to me and asked for all those things. So I was like, this is a perfect fit. Yeah. Really, because that's what I tell people. You got to have testimonials. Yeah. Because again, like you were saying, they let someone else sell the job or the product, not you. And, text is fine, but it doesn't convey any like emotional, like real, what's the word? Like
emotion.
Yeah. Emotion. Like you can't feel it.
Yeah.
So with video, you can, and you can feel authenticity. So if I ask somebody a real question, like anytime I'm doing a testimony, I'm like, forget about the camera. It's me and you. Yeah. And just prompt them.
Right.
And I want facial expressions. I want, all those things, because those are what sell people. Because if you can tell it's genuine, like that's...
Well, and talking about video, so
is.
We went to this conference called Grow With Video last year, and that's when we're like, all right, we're going to make a commitment to like really using video. And one thing that we've done this year that we've not done before for like all of our clients is we're doing a bunch of UGC, so user generated content. And so these people are like yourselves, professional photographers, and now the content we're producing for our properties is so good because they have that skill set. And so like that digital story that's being told is just phenomenal. And I think that if you have a business and you're listening, this is the best investment you can make, right? Like I would rather if they had to, like if their funds were limited and it's like, well, I can't afford to do videos and pictures and a website. It's like, well, let's do the videos and pictures first.
Yeah.
Because that'll make your
fragment it, like make
right.
it less than
That-
at least start.
Right. That'll
you
make
know?
your existing website better.
Yeah.
And then let's wait 90 days and then we'll build the website.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that is the most important piece.
Yeah.
Like I can only make your website so good and I can make it good, but I got to have the content if you want it to be great.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, because when you talk about budgets and people, like I almost feel like you already know, like if you're hitting up a client, they have the money to do it,
Yeah.
but they're so prideful and thinking that they don't need it. You know what I mean?
Well, and that was the point I wanted to say is that what I think people think with your industry is like, well, I can take a picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they don't understand the nuances that goes into what you do to make the picture amazing, right? And so I think part of your obstacle is people thinking like, oh, well, my sister-in-law has a nice camera,
Yeah.
so I'll just have her do it. But they don't understand lighting and angles, and there's like so much that goes into making a picture great. And so I think that's an obstacle that you have is, and everyone has a cell phone,
Yeah.
and they do take great pictures. And so I think that's another thing when they're like, oh, well, I'll just take it on my iPhone.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And it's like, dude, again, you can tell yourself all the things you want to tell yourself, but it's like, I've been doing this again for close to 5 years now, over and over.
Do you think you have 10,000 hours?
I'd have to do the math, but
I bet you do.
I would imagine
That would make you an expert. If
Yeah.
you do anything for 10,000 hours, then
Yeah.
you are full-fledged, like you are an expert.
you'd say 5 years at almost 7 days a week.
Then yeah, for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm this year, I'm probably going to get right close to $500,000, I think, in revenue. And it's like,
No way.
that's not a coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I sell results. If you want, and again, like I don't try to say that to my client because that just sounds weird, but it's like really like if this was a coincidence, like I wouldn't be doing the sales and increasing every single year. It was 100, 200. Last year was 300. This year will be close to 5.
That's
But
incredible.
it's like, it is. It's weird. And I never thought it would be that way. But again, it's like I try to build trust in other ways, but like that's not a coincidence that I just am suddenly keep increasing my income. It's like I'm providing real value. I'm retaining good clients and I'm getting great referrals because of that, you know, and referrals are really where my business spreads from you guys, obviously.
Yeah.
But tons of other things. And it's like, if you take care of your people, like you're doing it for yourself, shit's going to work out, you know?
100%.
And every time
Yeah.
I go up on a job, I don't charge cheap. I'm not cheap.
No.
But I charge for, if you want a badass video or badass pictures, you're going to get Mitch as a badass. I'm going to do my most right here, right now. And this is what it costs. Like, let's do it.
It's interesting too, because like when I first found you, it was closer to the beginning, right? And it was like, this is great. Like, hell yeah. I got such a good value. And then the price keeps going up, but it's like, I love that. And I'm going to support that because you are worth every single penny. But it's so hard because I love finding people in the beginning because it's like, yeah, this is a great value. But then those people end up getting better. And just like, of course, my business is going to go up too, you know, and I support that growth. And I love to hear your story. I mean, to hear the trajectory that you're on, I think for the listeners on this podcast, it's so important. What an inspiration, right? Because like if they listen from start to end, they can hear that like you just started. And that's the most important thing. And even like writing my book, Winning the Moment, by the time the book's over, it's like, okay, so what am I going to tell these readers? Like, how do they bring all this together? And it's like, damn, the worst part is the only advice is to start.
Yep.
And it's like, everyone wants it to be more than that because that just seems too simple.
Yeah, no. And it
right?
is.
But
it's
it's just,
simple.
that's what it is, man. You just got to start.
Take action, dude, and just evolve and pivot and so on. You know?
So now I'd be curious as an entrepreneur, and now you've had this growth, right? So I always say that like once your business grows by a third through people or through revenue, then you almost have to like restructure everything, right? Because whatever you're doing at 100 can work for a while, and then pretty soon it's like, oh shoot, like now I got to change, right? Either through my price or through my time commitment or through hirings. Like, what are some of the struggles as an entrepreneur that you're faced with now?
Yeah, most of the time is delegating because I have built this business all around me and my expertise, but now I'm trying to bridge that gap depending on the client and obviously the job. Like with real estate, I finally hired somebody that I can have start shooting all my housing. I have an editing team already, so that's dialed in. but yeah, having shooters for my real estate, that's going to become a huge thing. Like, and it's already been into fruition, and I just took action. I was actually shooting a house for a client, Brian Burnett, and the homeowner's daughter, or he was like, do you have that Matterport camera? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, my daughter does that too. And I go, no way. He goes, you need to talk to her. And she
That's
came
awesome.
downstairs. We shot the shit for a second, and I was like, let's start. And tomorrow, like the next day, we were like right on it.
That's
having
amazing.
her shadow me. And she already had a little bit of the background, but I kind of helped dial it in, like my systems and how I do things. And she's been amazing so far, and hope to find more and get more business. But again, I can't really scale up yet until I get my systems and processes and delegating in line.
There's a great saying, delegate and elevate.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. And it's hard when you build a business based on you, because even for us at Vibrant, like it started with Breck and I. Like we're selling, and we're like, you're buying us. And the problem is those people we sold 5 years ago on us, they still want what they signed up for 5 years ago. But it's like, as we've grown, it's like, you can't really have us now. We have a whole team. And it's like, we'll be there when we can, but that's a hard thing. And even Gary Vee says, like people sign up for VaynerMedia because they want Gary, but he's like, you're not getting me, And so now you're at that point where you have to start to be able to sell your services and not yourself.
And the quality control. And that same thing with you. Like, you guys are the head of the
snake.
Yeah. And same with me. Like, I need to let my client know, like, and I've done this multiple times, even on bigger shoots. I'm like, look, I'm already booked on this weekend for this event. I'm going to have another videographer come out. He's going to take care of you. I already set expectations of what we need to film, but all the editing will be taken care of me or by me or produced by me. Like, I show these are the
You're going to give the stamp at the end. Like, before you get it, I will stamp it with my approval.
Exactly. And if it's not right, we're going to fix it.
We'll get it right.
And I've taken that to a lot of projects, and it's been really good so far, but I just need to keep doing it and keep bridging that gap of, you don't need me every time, but you're going to get the same Mitch product and service that I carry with all my shoots and stuff. So.
And Rose is Reelz, right?
Yep.
That's good, because it's good as your last name and not your first. That makes it easier to build that ecosystem around it.
Yeah.
Okay, so question for you: what would you define as your biggest win up to this point in your life?
Biggest win.
And what I love about this, I'm gonna let you think on it, but what I want the audience to understand is that no one gets to define what a win is besides yourself, right? So like, you are in charge of what that looks like. So you can take that in a million different ways, but I want to know, in the way that you think about life and the way that your mind works, how do you define your biggest win in your life?
I'd say my biggest win, honestly, was just the shift of perspective.
That's actually what I was thinking for you.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
Just being able to think outside the box and believe in what I'm doing and what I can do. That belief and shift of perspective of, like some of my clients, making millions and millions, and hearing them plus a combination of all the other things I've heard and seen, and just being able to elevate my perspective and thinking outside the box, and knowing that truthfully, whatever, and it does sound so cliche,
it's just the truth,
but dude, if you believe it, you really can achieve it. And just perseverance, dude, is like, if I would have quit, there's so many times I thought I was going to quit in real estate because the numbers didn't pencil, and then I found editors that could alleviate, and then the numbers came back, and I'm like, oh, great. But all those times I could have quit and could have stopped and could have just threw in the towel. Like, you give yourself no option to quit, and you'll really find a way. But yeah, I'd say the biggest win is just perspective, elevating my perspective, and it's always going to change and grow. So it's just going to.
Well, and an awesome byproduct for you, to your point, is that you did get the opportunity because your clients had the means to surround yourself with all these incredible people. And when you put yourself in a circle like that, it's going to elevate what you're capable of and open your eyes to see like different ways of doing things and perspectives and beliefs. So in that same vein, then, what would you say your biggest loss was?
Geez, I don't know if I have a loss. Like, every loss is a is a gain if you think about it.
Well, that's why it's such a great question,
Yeah.
because no one and I ask is like, oh yeah, this thing happened. The reason that is because you only think about your losses when you're in them.
Yeah.
And once you break through it, because like you just said, like I could have quit, it wasn't penciling, guaranteed you've had a multitude of losses on this 5-year journey. But now those losses were like stepping stones to success.
Yeah.
And that's the perspective I want the audience to get from that question is like, whatever you're going through right now, like if you're mired in whatever bullshit you're dealing with in time, that thing will be like, oh, I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah.
Because if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen and I wouldn't have learned that lesson. Like that's where I almost think that's, and sometimes losses have more value than wins, because that's like the losses when you're hitting the ceiling and it's not working.
Gap in the Gain. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I
book?
love the Gap in the Gain.
Gap in the Gain is my life, dude.
Dude, what's amazing is, so I read Gap in the Gain after my book, and it is like the exact same concepts.
Really?
Like basically we said the same shit in a different way.
Wow.
And he's a doctor, so it was like, hell yeah for me. Like,
Yeah. Dude, he's so good.
Yeah,
And
I'd check that book out
I'd
for
say
sure.
my biggest losses right now with this house I just renovated, like, but again, think about it in a positive way. Like me expecting it was going to go a certain way, and
Expectations will get you.
and the budget, right?
Yeah.
I ended up blowing that completely out. I'll probably be into this house over 160,000 out of pocket cash that I had to invest in this thing, and it's still not even done yet. But like being able to get thrown through the ringer through this experience, like I had renovated my fourplexes in Hurricane, and those were a little different because I hired someone that just took care of everything, which was great. And we're actually starting the next unit, hopefully this week. But this house, I really was like the general contractor, but now I get to know all the faults in the process of the building, from framing to drywalling to replumbing to all electrical. Like I know my numbers now, how much it'll cost. So going into my next investments, after I see an inspection report, I get to know, okay, this is cost for this is cost for this. You know, I'll be well more versed and knowledgeable in that.
Well, what's amazing is you paid for school, right? Because you went for 2 years. You just paid for an education.
Yeah.
The great thing about this education is that as long as the runway is long enough, you will not lose money, right? Like maybe if you sold it today, perhaps you lose. Yeah. But you've got this long runway. So at some point, that all of that loss and agony is going to shift to a win. And that's what happens with every loss in our life. With enough of a runway, every loss can become a win. And you're just more educated and better prepared for that next step. And I think you just got to have that perspective when you're going through those trials and tribulations to know you're going to come out on the other side of it. Yep. So you've not read my book, right?
I haven't yet.
Okay, so share your biggest takeaway from Gap in the Gain then.
There's a lot of good ones. Let me think. Basically, just the concept of measuring backwards, not forward. So
the only way to measure your success.
I have it tatted on my leg. The journey
no doubt.
The journey is the destination. So it's all about the
You
ride.
can never arrive, right?
And I've had that problem, and I still have that problem sometimes.
Everybody
and I got to pull myself out of it, and that's why I always think Gap in the Gain. Look at the tattoo, like just all those things that keep myself into perspective of that's not the way you need to perceive life, because you're just gonna blink your eyes one day and you're gonna be old as shit and be like, fuck. I just wasted my life worrying and stressing of all the things I didn't get done or whatever. And then as soon as you turn around, you look at the freaking list of things you just
it's unbelievable.
It's like, whoa.
I was talking to a college classroom a couple weeks ago, and I said, like, raise your hand if you feel successful. And like some of them did, and some of them didn't. And one of the kids who did, and I said, did you want to go to college? He said, yeah. I said, so wouldn't have your past self been proud of you for being in this room? He was like, yeah. I was like, then you're successful right now. Yeah. The problem is what he was probably thinking is like, well, I haven't started my career yet, or I'm not making money
yet.
And so like, there's always things in front of you. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway. And as I worked through the book and I really thought about like the message I want to share, it's that you can never arrive at
hedonic
success
treadmill. Because
no matter what, like for you, 6 figures was success, right? But if I told you today, Mitch, next year you're going to make 6 figures. You're going to make 100,000. You'd be like, well, shit, then my business failed.
Yeah.
Right. And so what at one point was success for you now would represent failure. And that's why you can never get there.
Yeah.
Because as you keep progressing in life, you're going to get further and further. So a couple more questions before we wrap up. Did you have a mentor in this process for you? Like, no,
nobody.
That's incredible.
Jefferson
Rogers, JKR.
Jefferson Rogers. Yeah. Once I had him on as a client, he helped with the mindset stuff big time and really helped me like really put into perspective, like you can't be a solopreneur forever. forever.
Yeah.
So you got to start to delegate. And him sharing his numbers so openly with me was so valuable because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that just don't talk about their income and numbers
Yeah.
and what they do, and they're very private about it. And I'm not really like, I like hearing it.
Yeah.
I like hearing it just to, again, just hearing his numbers really helped me expand. Like, shit, dude, this is doable. And like, he's watched me grow. Like, I'm like, Jeff Rose, 10,000 this month. Jeff Rose, 20,000 this month. Dude, I hit 30,000. Like, it's crazy. But having him to kind of backboard off of, like, and obviously just film for him and help support my business in that way and generating more revenue. He's been a big influence in that way. But in photography specifically, I haven't had any sort of mentor. It's kind of just
a growth mentor in JK.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so last question. How do you define success?
But I do believe you should have a mentor. I do believe in that. But
you had one, just not specifically in your craft, but you had a mentor in your growth.
It's a little weird finding one in my industry. But, and then, sorry, what was your last question?
Most important question of the podcast. How do you define success?
By the actions that you do day to day. That's really success. And
like when you look back on your life and you want to feel that you've achieved something, what gives you that emotion and that feeling for you in your life?
Just taking care of your shit, dude. Like if you got something to do it now and take care of it, because there's no better time than now.
Yeah.
Stop procrastinating. Like I feel the most successful when my to-do list is checked off. And again, you'll always have more stuff on your to-do list, which...
No, it's important. I mean, that's the idea of winning the moment with these bracelets. Like, it's that dopamine. When you accomplish something you set out to do and you do it, you get that rush of dopamine and testosterone, and that makes you feel better and more prepared to attack the next task you have.
Yeah. And you can't let yourself be let down by... Because, again, every goal in that gap in the gain, you're going to constantly push the goal further and further away from you.
You're going to keep hitting the ceiling and raising it.
Yeah, and that'll just be inevitable. So, taking care of your shit, dude. Get your stuff done. That makes me feel the best when
keep your promises to yourself.
Yeah, be impeccable with your word. I've never. That's like my pet peeve, dude. If you tell somebody you're going to be here at this time and you don't show up, like you get a strike 3 right away. Like that's. I don't give a lot of people slack on that. Like. Because again, like it's just a slippery slope. Do you do it once, then the next one, then the next one?
And it's just a disrespect of the relationship between you. If you tell me to be somewhere at a certain time and I show up late, I'm saying I don't value your time. I value mine. Yep. So then if people want to connect with you, if they want to find you, if they want to hire you, if they want to use your services, what's the best way for them to find you?
Probably just through Instagram, man_indievan.
Okay, I'll put that in the footnotes too.
Yeah.
Do you not have a website for Rose's Reelz?
I do, but it's... Again, I got to dial it in with now having the course getting launched and stuff. Okay. Like I need to, but my real estate website's rosesreelz realestate.com.
Okay. And when you're ready to like
as well,
get that website to be the thing you want it to be, let's get together.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, Mitch, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
You nailed it, dude. I'm good.
I wish I could have talked for another hour.
Yeah,
like that flew by. There was so much more I wanted to get into. Maybe we'll have you back for part 2 because that was awesome.
Let's do it.
Okay, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you.